Hey, I'm Brad. Thanks for being here. Today, I want to take a few minutes to talk about a subject that I don't feel qualified to talk about, but nonetheless, I am human, and we're all able to talk about stuff that we are working through. And what I want to focus on today is healing and the hurts that accompany the healing journey, the process. You might have heard that phrase, the wounded healer, in circles that you've gone around in. And that phrase implies that the people who are healed themselves or able to help other people in their healing journey are people who have experienced wounds and they've gone through pain in their life. And as a result of them acclimating and integrating the pain experience in their life, the painful experiences, that gives them the ability to come alongside other people who are hurting and who need to have that comfort and support. And maybe that's how it should be, right? Because if someone is going to come alongside of me and say, I want to walk with you in the journey that you're on, it'd be helpful to know that they've gone through some stuff too. And it doesn't have to be the same stuff that I've gone through. It could be a very, very different set of circumstances, but I need to know that they understand. If I'm asking for help, I need to know that they've lived life and have gone through things that have really been painful for them. So I've gone through some pain, and I'm coming from that place of sharing the journey so far in that, and that might be of assistance to you. So the first example I want to give you is I broke my ankle back in October of last year. So as the time of this recording, that's about 9 months or so ago. It was a stupid accident. I was just jumping out of the back of my truck. It was late at night. I was excited to see my son. I just picked him up from Montreal and came back here, and it was late at night. It was a little dip in the ground, and my ankle snapped, and I thought it was a twig. Most people probably think that it's just a twig. That's couldn't be my ankle. That has to be like a piece of wood on the ground that I stepped on. And sure enough, I broke my ankle, and that sucked. It was certainly not a fun experience to break a bone. I've never broken a bone in my life, and I remember in those initial days after that happened, I was just envisioning a time when I would be healed again and I'd be able to walk, because I couldn't right now. I couldn't put any weight on it. I had bought this really cool crutch, looked like a prosthetic limb. Airwalk, I think was the name of the product. Super cool. If you ever break a leg or ankle, I highly recommend that. and of course, during that time, when the thing is broken and I can't use it, my mind is automatically thinking of the day when it's going to be better and I can use it, because I just missed physical activity, just walking, a simple activity is walking, let alone all the other stuff I want to do with my body. And the amount of pain that I went through in those first little while was excruciating. I remember lying on my bed a couple of nights, and the nerve pain, it was like both sides of my feet, I could feel this intense amount of pain. And even though my right foot wasn't broken, it felt like the exact same on both ankles. It was incredible. I didn't know how to handle all that pain. And it was just really awful. And in the middle of all of that, my ankle was healing. In the middle of all of the pain, all the discomfort, the questions that I had of is this working? Can I walk again? Or I want to walk again. As soon as I broke it, my body got to work repairing it. And I remember thinking that to myself, even that when that happened, I was sitting in the ER that night for like 12 hours, and I was doing research on how to travel because I had some flights booked, and can I get on an airplane? And my mind is trying to make sense of it all. But as I had that awareness, like, okay, it's starting to heal right now. My body gets to work, and it's naturally bent on healing. And what I have learned from that experience, as it relates to all the other areas of my life that don't feel healed yet, as if maybe I'll ever be whole, complete. I think I can be whole and complete, but it's this like undercurrent, or this under, that's not the right word. It's just a process. That word might get used overused, but it is a process. Healing is a journey, and it's got all these multiple points along the way that come alongside of us in the journey of it, and it's not a one-stop sort of deal. And so the question I have for myself in the ankle, and just as it relates to the rest of my life, like how do I heal? Do I heal myself? What's my role in the healing aspects of my life, in the areas that I feel pain and hurt, and how does that work? I think it's a really good question, because you might have heard stories of people who have gotten cancer, and they have taken steps to heal themselves, and they're in remission. And other people, that didn't happen, and they might have even taken the same steps, but they didn't heal, and they died, or they still have cancer. So there's a mystery around all this, and I can't pretend to know the answers to all those perplexing questions. But what I do know is that there is something embedded in our world, in our universe, that wants to restore itself. And I get to participate with that. We all do. It's not like it's being forced upon us, but we are rather invited into like the restorative nature of the world that we live in. It reminds me of a story from Jesus where he asked someone, I don't know all the context, I forget where it's even found in scripture, let alone maybe the person, I think it might have been the person at the water in front of the temple. Maybe, I'm not sure. But basically the question is, do you want to be well? Is the question that Jesus asked this guy. Like, do you want to be healed? Do you desire that? Again, it's another great question. What I've learned is that sometimes I don't want to be well, even if I'm unwell. And I can know this to be true based on my behavior and the internal thoughts that I have. I guess all thoughts are internal. The thoughts that I have, the behaviors, the choices that I'm making, the ongoing feelings that I have around things. If I watch myself from a distance, I can see that sometimes I'm not actually choosing to be well, to be whole. Instead I'm choosing to remain fractured and disoriented and in my victimhood. I'm actively choosing that. Why am I choosing that? God knows, because I don't want to feel all that stuff. I don't want to be caught in all those cycles. But there's certain parts of me that are addicted to drama. I think my ego is like running the show there. It's like my ego wants to have problems so that it has something to solve. I've been learning that from Kyle Cease recently, where the ego's job is almost to just perpetuate the problems. And by having problems and choosing the problems, that keeps our ego in business, gives it a job to do. And the ego doesn't want to go out of work. The ego doesn't want to die. It doesn't want to be discharged and relieved of its services. So it makes sense why we would continue to choose to not be well. If we have the courage to say, I want to be well, I want to choose wellness. I want to choose to be healthy and whole in all the ways possible in my life. Physically, mentally, spiritually, sexually, all the fullness of my humanity. I want to be well. I want to be whole. If we say yes to that, then we will encounter pain, and we will need to be honest about the pain that is there. Recently, a friend of mine that I just met, she has been talking to me about Kaballah. And I've heard about Kaballah in the past, and it's the mystical tradition of the Jewish side of things. And I don't know a lot about Kaballah or Kabbalistic teachings, but the one principle that I've been learning about through David Guillaume, which is a great dude that speaks on this, is the tukum. And come to think of it, actually I think I heard of that through the CAC. But tukum is this concept of repairing the world, repairing us who live in the world. It's about restoration. It is about the correction of where things have been broken, the correction of our soul. And I love that there's words for this in different traditions. It's helpful to have new words to describe similar feelings. But I love this idea, and I love the language that it's pointing to, because it changes the lens through which we see the pain in our life. Because the ego's perspective on pain is as the solver. It's the who's at fault for this. You know, who are we going to place the blame on? How do we resolve it? And what resources do I need to fix it? What supplements do I need to take? What cast do I need to put on my broken thing? And listen, a lot of those things can be great. The ego is a wonderful thing, and God bless our ego. We need it, but it has some pretty severe limitations too. It can't take us the full distance. It takes us kind of like part way. But if we want to go the full distance in transparency and in authenticity, where the soul is whole and it's complete, it makes room for all the pain. It doesn't push it away. It doesn't try to even solve the pain. It just allows the pain to be there. So for example, like with my anger, if I were just to fight it all the time and say, no, you don't feel pain, you're healing. Your healing means that I don't feel the pain. No, healing includes the pain. And to befriend it and to embrace it as part of that process. So this shifting of perspective, I think, is incredibly profound and helpful, because when we get into the mindset that if healing needs to look a certain way, then it can be really challenging when it doesn't feel like we're healing. When you hear that word, I am healed, I am better, those are very, very positive type words that imply a relaxed state. The pain is gone. It's behind us. We've moved on. Often when I think of healing, that's what comes to mind. That's the goal, right? If I say, I want to heal my broken ankle, I want to heal my heart, then we have this image of what that healing looks like. But when you're right in the middle of it all, when you're actually healing, it doesn't feel anything like that. It feels ridiculously hard. It's depressing. It's taxing on our nervous system. It's not a good thing. Like, healing sounds wonderful, but to actually heal is a painful process. I've got a sticky note on my fridge, just in my kitchen here, and it says, being here is healing me. Like, being here in this physical space that I'm living is healing me. It's restoring me. It's my tukum. I know this to be true. But for the majority of the time, my feelings of healing are not on parallel with what I think healing should be, because healing is painful. About a year ago, around this time, I broke up with my fiance. And over the course of this last year, I have been walking through that healing journey. And it'd be great for me to just jump on here and say, man, I'm so much better. Or I'm all healed up inside. My ankle healed quickly within a span of less than a year. Still a little stiff, and running's a bit hard sometimes, and it's like so much better. Even this morning when I was meditating, for a long time I couldn't sit in like a lotus position, like with my legs crossed, but now I can for an extended period of time. So I know that it's healing. But my heart's still in this process of healing right now because of this relationship and how much love we had for each other, and I've taken steps to address my heart. I've done a ton of journaling. I've done a ton of videos, not posted anywhere online, but just on my phone as I'm journaling with myself on how this is going, what's coming up for me, what's surfacing, where the pain still lives in my body. So I'm not sure where I am on that scale right now of my healing journey with her. I feel like there's unfinished business. I feel like I have hurt her. I feel hurt by her. A lot of it's still unsettled in me. But what I know to be true is that even in the uncertainty of how it's going, how the healing is going, I know that healing's happening. And I recently started reading this book called The Gap in the Game. It was referred to me by a business coach I'm working with, Tasha Smith. And the one thing that they mention in the book is that confidence is built by measuring backwards. And the point in that is to say that in the moments when we are looking at these gaps in our life where we're not where we want to be in our healing, in our jobs, in our relationships, in our physical well-being, it can be so pressure-oriented to think that we're just not where we have this ideal and we just keep falling short of the ideal. So no matter how much effort we put in, we keep landing short of where we want to be. And that's demoralizing. That's not a good measuring stick. On the flip side, if we look back and we're like, in what ways have I progressed up to this point? What can I be proud of myself? And in terms of this relationship that I had, I can look back on the last little while and say, yeah, I have been healing. And I know that because of the contours of my own heart and how I see things, the way that I talk about it, the less I know about certain things. Even someone to ask me, well, why did you break up? I'm not sure how to answer that sometimes because my logical mind will come to a list of conclusions, and at one time those felt really firm for me. I put a lot of stake in them, a lot of confidence in them, and there's some truth to all these things, but the further I go along, the kind of more gray it becomes. It's like I'm not sure exactly. And learning to be okay with that. Learning to be okay with just the unsettled parts of me that can't definitively tell you where I'm at in the healing of it all. So as I bring this to a close, one thing that has helped me a lot is a couple things. The first one is to pause, is to be still, to find different rhythms in my life that give me space to breathe when the pain is amplified, is turned up, and those waves are just coming in or the memories are coming in. Being on social media is a wonderful thing, but there's not a lot of space on there for silence. And I'm going to probably make a video in the future about this, but just to kind of tee it up a little bit, in that we live now in this year, 2025, and it's amazing that we have all these connections and we can do stuff like this. We can set up a camera and a mic and have our computers and have all these ways of connecting and growing and expanding. It's amazing. Wow, what a gift. But there are other gifts too that don't live in these spaces that we can bring to these spaces. And those practices of the stillness and just letting God talk to us, are life-changing, so that when we do show up to digital spaces, we can present ourselves in a way that's more whole and complete, because we are taking care of ourselves offline as well. So the confusion that can happen in our mind is that we think that healing is not happening when it doesn't feel like healing is happening. And I want to affirm that how things are in the moment doesn't mean that that's how things actually are. There's a bit of an illusion that's taking place. Like if the desire inside of you in response to the question of Jesus is, do you want to be well? And if the word Jesus is triggering, just swap that out with something else. Like love is talking to the universe, is talking to source. Light is beaming into you, and are you hearing it from your friends or from the people? Like, do you want to be well? And if your answer is yes, if you, as a result of saying that and posturing your heart towards that, if you don't feel well, even though your desire is to be well, don't be put off, brothers and sisters. That doesn't mean that things are not happening for your benefit. And it's this certainty that goes beyond logic, which is something I'm learning from this Kaballah as well, is this certainty, the confidence that we can have that transcends the mind. It transcends our logical grasp of it and wanting to dwindle it down to an Excel spreadsheet or to something that we can touch even. But having this certainty that all is well. And in all manner of things, all will be well. My friend Elaine from Saskatchewan, I remember she said that to me several times in the last couple of months. And I had a hard time hearing that because I didn't really believe her. Because it doesn't feel well. Sometimes when we say these phrases, we know that there's truth to it, even if it's an overused cliche. But there can be something in our heart that it wants to agree with it, but it fights it. It's like, no, all is not well. I don't feel well. I have a headache. I have tinnitus. My heart feels so heavy. I have so much loneliness. I am struggling. Yeah, all that is true. That's honest. Right? That's that tukam, like soul correction of, yeah, this is how things actually are. I'm experiencing it right now. But even in light of all of that, I'm holding on to this truth that I'm being sustained, and that this is what healing looks like. You are not alone in your healing. If it was just up to us, and if it was just up to me, and I broke my ankle, and there wasn't some natural thing in the universe that wants to correct itself, I would still have a broken ankle. It would still be I wouldn't be able to walk on it. If it was up to me, in my mind, in my ego, my agenda, if I was steering the ship, I would still have a broken ankle. But thank God that it's not all up to me. It's not all up to you either. So take heart that healing is happening for all of us. And we are invited into it to say yes to the healing journey, the healing process. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for listening. I hope that you find healing in your heart, in your body, in your mind, because it is available for all of us. It's just having the ability to say yes and just letting it do its thing. And that kind of phrase, like getting ourselves out of the way. And sometimes we need to realize that we are in the way, and that's okay. We're not the problem, but just being honest about it and letting that healing energy flow through us. All right, my friends, take care.